I'm going to talk you through how to annotate the Of Mice and Men extract in the English Literature Unit 1 exam. So obviously you would do this in exam conditions in complete silence, but I'm just going to walk through how I would annotate, and I'm going to explain the process and how to do it. So I've got my two highlighters ready and I've got a pen and I'm ready to go. So the first thing I need to do is read the question and explode what it asks me to do. So I've already done this before I started the video. So it says, read the extract on the opposite page. Then answer the following question. How does John Steinbeck present the character of Crooks here? Refer closely to the extract in your answer. So I've highlighted how, character of Crooks, extract, and 10 marks. Annotate basically means to make little notes around important parts of the text. That way when you look back at it, you know exactly where the main parts are. So I know this is where I got to keep focusing. I need to concentrate on these. So first of all, how. A how question asks me to explore quotations and be tentative in my analysis. Tentative, remember, means those words such as this might suggest or this could imply. Those phrases that don't make your analysis solid, they suggest it. Then, character of Crooks. I've highlighted this because this is the focus of my question. If I start going off and looking at other characters, I'm not going to get the marks because this is what I need to focus on. So every time I write a new paragraph, I'm going to come back to this. The extract then. So this is telling me to refer closely to the extract in your answer. I know that as part of the extract question, I need to include direct quotations. I don't have to talk about anything else in the book. I don't have to talk about any, events that happened at the start or the end. I am just talking about this extract. And then because I know it's the extract question, I know that we don't need context. You are just analysing what's in front of you. You are not talking about any historical context. 10 marks then, and this could be the most important part to look at. So 10 marks, you need to remember that you have 20 minutes to complete this, annotate and complete it, and you need to look for about 8 to 10 points. So we need to find 8 to 10 very good quotations to talk about in this extract. And the important thing to remember is we need to talk about the whole extract. We can't just have quotations from here. They need to be all the way through to show that you've really understood the whole extract. So now that I've highlighted and exploded the question, I can start reading my extract. Now obviously this would be in your head and you'd be doing it silently, but I'm going to read it out loud now so we can start to think about what we might highlight. So, Crooks seemed to come slowly out of the layers of protection he had put on. Was that the truth, what you said about the guys come back? He asked. Sure, I heard 'em. Well, I didn't hear nothing. The gate banged, Candy said, and he went on. Jesus Christ, Curly's wife can move quiet. I guess she had a lot of practice, though. Crooks avoided the whole subject now. Maybe you guys better go, he said. I ain't sure I want you in here no more. A coloured man got to have some rights, even if he don't like 'em. Candy said, That bitch didn't ought to have said that to you. It wasn't nothing, Crooks said dully. You guys coming in and setting made me forget. What she says is true. The horses snorted out in the barn, and the chains rang, and a voice called, Lenny! Oh, Lenny! You in the barn? It's George! Lenny cried, and he answered, Here, George, I'm right in here. In a second, George stood framed in the door, and he looked disapprovingly about. What you doing in Crooks's room? You hadn't ought to be in here. Crooks nodded. I told 'em, but they come in anyways. Well, why didn't you kick 'em out? I didn't care much, said Crooks. Lenny's a nice fella. Now Candy aroused himself. Oh, George, I've been figuring and figuring. I got it doped how we can even make some money on them rabbits. George scowled. I thought I told you not to tell nobody about that. Candy was crestfallen. I didn't tell nobody but Crooks. George said, "Well, you guys get out of here. Jesus, seems like I can't go away for a minute." Candy and Lenny stood up and went toward the door. Crooks called, "Candy!" "Huh? Remember what I said about hoeing and doing odd jobs?" "Yeah," said Candy. "I remember." "Well, just forget it," said Crooks. "I didn't mean it. Just fooling. I wouldn't want to go no place like that." "Well, okay, if you feel like that. Good night." The three men went out of the door. As they went through the barn, the horses snorted and the halter chains rattled. Crooks sat on his bunk and looked at the door for a moment. Then he reached his palm for the liniment bottle. He pulled out his shirt and back, poured a little liniment in his pink palm, and, reaching around, he fell slowly to rubbing his back. So this is our extract, and we've got to think now, where is this extract in the novel? What has happened just before it to make this happen? So because I revised the story and I know the events and sequence, I know that the men are discussing what just happened, and Curly's wife has just left. So Curly's wife just left, and the men are discussing what she said. So she threatened Crooks. So she threatened Crooks. And the men are arguing, she shouldn't talk to you like that, but Crooks is so used to it that he just accepts it. The majority of the men, so Slim, George, they've all gone to old Susie's. So they've gone to the brothel. So men, Susie's. So we've got the weak ones here. If you can remember, Curly's wife said, "Oh, they left the weak ones here." So we've got Candy, we've got Crooks, we've got Lenny, and we've got Curly's wife. So we know where it is in the novel, and now we need to start annotating what it says. So I'm going to read through, and anything I think is, important or it shows us something about Crooks, I'm going to highlight and make a note. So Crooks seemed to come slowly out of the layers of protection he had put on. I can see there he's got layers of protection. Obviously, he's not wearing a suit of armour like a knight. This is metaphorical, so this isn't real. But it shows he needs protection. Like as if he's under attack. So we know that he needs protection because he's under attack. Slowly, so this adverb shows me that he's quite apprehensive to do so. So maybe he's been victim to this behaviour before and he's so used to it that he can't be bothered to fight back, but he is slowly coming out of the layers of protection. "Was that the truth, what you said about the guys come back?" he asked. He's asking them, was that the truth? Are they lying? So he doesn't trust them. He's gone through something that's made him not trust people. "Sure, I heard him." "Well, I didn't hear nothing." "The gate banged," Candy said, and he went on. "Jesus Christ, Curly's wife can move quiet. I guess she's had a lot of practice though." Right, so there, if the question was asking us about Curly's wife or Candy, we've got lots to say there, but because Crooks is our focus, we're not going to. Crooks avoided the whole subject now. This is a really important quote. So Crooks avoided the whole subject now. He can't even say the name of Curly's wife. He calls her the subject. So Steinbeck has said that Crooks calls her the subject. He's scared to even name her. So he's scared to say her name. Why is he scared to, talk about her? Because she's dangerous. Curly's wife is a threat. But also now, this word here, and I'm going to draw a really long line here. This word here tells me that he has changed the way he talks about her. So I think that before this incident, He probably said something insulting about her, and she made some negative consequences. She inflicted some consequences onto him. So now, like it says here, he suddenly changed the way he acts. So he suddenly becomes scared. So straight away, we've got 4 good quotations there that we could talk about, and we're only in the first third. So we've already got lots and lots. A coloured man got to have some rights, even if he don't like them. So he's got to have rights. He's saying, even if we do live in a racist society, I've got to have some kind of rights, even if he don't like them. This tells me that he would be happy with any rights. He's so desperate to have some power and control over his life and some authority that he's happy to have any rights given to him, even if it does mean throwing 3 men out of his bedroom. Candy said, "That bitch didn't ought to have said that to you. It wasn't nothing." This here is a double negative, so if it wasn't nothing, that means that something happened. So this tells me he's uneducated, because this is grammatically incorrect. So uneducated. Crooks said dully. Right, this adverb tells me he's so used to this. Okay, so I got loads now, loads and loads. The horses snorted out in the barn and the chains rang and a voice called, "Lenny, oh Lenny, you in the barn?" "It's George," Lenny cried, and he answered, "Here, George, I'm right in here." In a second, George stood framed in the door and he looked disapprovingly about. "What are you doing in Crooks's room? You hadn't ought to be in here." So we could make a comment that George even mistreats Crooks or sees him as below them. Crooks nodded. "I told them, but they came in anyways." So this long quote. Lack of power or authority, even in his own house, in his own bedroom. "Well, why don't you kick him out?" "I didn't care much," said Crooks. "Lenny's a nice fella." Right, so even though we know that Crooks has just really wound Lenny up and he's said that George isn't going to come back, he's going to leave you, he's actually now complimenting him. So I think he's so desperate for friendship. Now Candy aroused himself. "Oh, George, I've been figuring and figuring. I got it doped how we can even make some money on them rabbits." George scowled. "I thought I told you not to tell nobody about that." The fact that he's saying, "I told you to tell nobody about that," and then Candy was crestfallen, didn't tell nobody but Crooks. So he's kind of saying that Crooks isn't actually a person that counts. He's not a threat, he's not going to do anything because he's this man that has no power, no, aspirations. He doesn't matter. So he's not valued as a person. George said, "Well, you guys get out of here. Jesus, seems like I can't go away for a minute." Candy and Lenny stood up and went toward the door. Crooks called Candy. Remember when I said about hoeing and doing odd jobs?" "Yeah." So he's asking, "Do you remember what I just said, a couple of minutes ago?" So this tells me he's so used to people not paying any attention to him. He's checking that Candy actually listened to what he said. Were you listening? Do you remember what I said? Did you take it in? And this again shows me that he has no power. He has no respect from any of his colleagues. "Yes," said Candy, "I remember." "Well, just forget it." He's given up on his American dream. He knows he'll never get it. Sorry, you can't see it there. Move it up. Right, so yeah, well, just forget it. So this tells me that he's given up on his American dream. He knows he'll never do it, and he might as well stop thinking about it and aspiring to it now. Said Crooks. I didn't mean it, I just fooling. I wouldn't want to go no place like that. Well, okay, if you feel like that, good night. The three men went out the door. As they went through the barn, the horses snorted and the halter chains rattled. Crooks sat on his bunk and looked at the door for a moment, and then he reached for the liniment bottle. Right, so liniment bottle is like an oil. It's a herbal oil that helps pain. So not only is he, socially neglected and he's feeling all these, emotions, this isolation, he's also got physical pain, so physically in pain. So his life is pretty rubbish. He pulled out his shirt in back, poured a little liniment into his pink palm, and reaching around, he fell slowly to rubbing his back. This here tells me he has nobody to help him. So if you've ever tried to rub moisturiser on your back or, suntan cream, it's really hard to get to certain places on your back because your arms just aren't long enough. But he's had to resort to actually putting this ointment and this oil on himself. Nobody to help him through the pain. He's totally on his own. So he's completely isolated. Nobody wants to help him. Nobody cares that much. So he's completely on his own. So there I've got a lot to talk about. Now obviously you might annotate this and get totally different ideas. These are just things that I've picked out now whilst I'm reading it. This is the first time I've read this like I'm in an exam, so you've probably picked out completely different ideas to me, but that's okay. There's not a right answer for this. But now, because I said that I need 8 to 10 points, I need to choose which ones I'm going to talk about, because obviously I won't have time to talk about all of these. Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got 15 things here, so I need to choose them. So when I did my exam, when I was your age, I got another colour highlighter and I highlighted the points that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to choose this one, this one, this one. And because I got quite a lot at the top, I'm going to start to move down. I'm going to use this one. This one, this one, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got all my ideas, and with my yellow highlighter I've highlighted the ones that I'm going to talk about, because as you can see my extract is a bit of a mess now, so I need to make sure I can pick out and see the notes I've written alongside. So I've got all my 10 points and I can start writing now. Obviously you're going to choose the annotated parts that you can talk about the most. So there are certain things here that I would struggle to analyse, in much detail. So, with this, slowly, the adverb, I can really discuss this in detail and I can write a lot about it and analyse it as an isolated word. So choose the ones that you feel most confident with. Remember, no context, it is just what's in front of you. Your introduction should tell you where in the novel this has come from and why you think this is chosen. So overall, this tells me that Crooks was a very lonely man. He didn't have any help. People didn't respect him. He had no authority. And I'm going to spend the rest of my time looking at my 8 to 10 points. Now, obviously, this video is now 20 minutes. Obviously, you are not going to spend 20 minutes annotating, because that is the whole time you'll have for the whole extract question. So this has taken so long because I've talked through my process and I've really gone into detail.